hilarious. But all jokes aside, the All-Star game is truly falling below expectations. You know, Austin, I want to give you the floor here.
Hey, Perk, let's get him. Because hey, listen. First off, this All-Star weekend had some high moments. The Sabrina Steph was great. Yep. But we talk about the bread and butter of the All-Star game. It's always the dunk contest and the game itself, right? Which this past weekend was a tough watch. It was a tough watch. When we talk about the All-Star game, listen, I'm not expecting guys to be Game 7, dive on the floor, give everything you got. But there's a fine line between not playing hard and even what they did last night. 211 points. Bro, Scott Van Pelt said it better than anybody. If they don't care, why should we? Kobe even said it, man. Like, listen, guys play harder in pickup games in the summer. Guys are going to play one-on-one tomorrow when they go back to their respective cities and get after it more than they did last night. So I don't want to hear the whole injury thing. Again, I'm not expecting these guys to play, the greatest defense. There's going to be some Frito-Lay in the All-Star game. There's going to be some, circus acts. It's an All-Star game. But when that third and fourth quarter come around, that's when we like to see these guys compete. This is the greatest pickup game in the world. I want to see the best players get after it. That felt Pro Bowl-ish last night. I felt like I was watching a football Pro Bowl, like flag football. That was flag basketball.
And they've been trying to tweak the Pro Bowl so that it's more entertaining
that
for
was
the fans,
bad, bro.
And then they got rid of it. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Perk?
To be honest, it was embarrassing and it was disrespectful to the game of basketball, to the NBA, to so many guys that used to, like the NBA All-Star, to be an NBA All-Star, it's an honor. It's an honor. Like, I played 14 years and never made an All-Star game. I was close to making it one time, and Al Horford beat me out by one coach's vote. Do you know how it would have felt to be in the All-Star game? Russell Westbrook won back-to-back All-Star MVPs. One of the times he came off the bench because he was playing so hard. That's how much he cared. And at the end of the day, players won't say it publicly, but in order to move the needle, in order to get an All-Star game where they're actually competing, you know what's going to have to happen. The NBA is going to have to increase the incentives, meaning put a bankroll in front of their faces to make them go out there and play. Hey, you know what? If this team wins, each player get an additional $500,000. We saw the results and we saw what happened with the in-season tournament.
Exactly.
Guys were scrapping like crazy, taking charges. We saw a playoff version of LeBron James. But again, man, you go back and you watch Jordan, you watch Shaq, you watch Kobe, you watch all these guys that was in even Russell Westbrook. Like, it was a badge of honor to represent and be a guy that represented the All-Star game. And if I was Adam Silver, I would have been pissed as hell like he was last night because it was an embarrassment all across the board.
So let's talk about how we got here, okay? Because this is the first weekend the NBA has the stage all to itself. The Super Bowl's over. Everybody's got this is the NBA's big showcase. And instead of us having the three marquee games on ABC, the three big lead-ins all the way through on TNT and then ABC, and then we have the All-Star Saturday night, and we have the All-Star game. And this is what, when the nation turns its attention from football to basketball, this is what the NBA is putting on display. How did we get here? Football added a week. So we have week 17, so the Super Bowl is 1 week later. The trade deadline is now before the All-Star game. It used to be after. And so the All-Star game, you saw I think the Boogie Cousins trade is the one that kind of changed things. Yeah. Right after the All-Star game, Boogie gets traded, and people are scrambling to find him in the locker room and tell him, and get a reaction.
I remember that.
And that changed everything because it just made the whole weekend kind of awkward for everybody, so they moved the All-Star game after the trade deadline. They also made the All-Star game a break, so it's longer, and they had to find a spot for it on the calendar. But I think the calendar just needs to change. Like, the calendar has changed in a way such that this isn't what the NBA wants to be putting its best. This is not the best foot forward for the NBA. Now, I can come up with all these ways to change the game. I like World versus USA. I know you think you don't like that, but in hockey it works. I think there's enough great players all around the world.
What if there's not?
See, that's the thing, though. If the calendar changes, you might still have the guys approach the game the same way, and they don't care. And to me, I think Perk hinted to it. My solution is pay the guys.
No, $1 million.
We saw $1 million. I think the winning team, the players got $500,000, right, from the in-season tournament. Yeah. We were talking about how game-changing that money was. And I think no matter how high you are on the spectrum in the NBA, like, that money matters to you and how you can transform lives. And so pay them. the same way. We saw them reap the benefits of the in-season tournament, pay the guys who win the All-Star game a little bit more. But if it's the calendar here, and for me, it's paying them. What do you think is your solution?
There's also the optics, though, of like these are All-Stars making $50 million.
No, but that's why it shouldn't be $500,000.
And they tried, but
$1 million. I don't care how much money you got. $1 million is $1 million.
But they tried the charity. They tried the charity giving money to charity, and I think now it didn't really yield much. So Austin, what would you say what's the actual fit?
I think you could. First off, $1 million per player is a lot of money. Even if you're a guy making $40, $50 million a year, $1 million, that's free cash, man. That's money you can give to your family, your friends, your charity, do whatever you want with it. But that's a lot of money. So that's one thing. Secondly, each All-Star player gets a ring, right? Why don't the winning team get a totally different type of ring? We're talking about Super Bowl looking type of ring, an iced out All-Star ring. The losing team gets maybe like a smaller ring with like a jewel on it. I don't know. Try to make it more so where these guys take it personal and compete. But at the end of the day, man, it starts at the top. We need the top dogs and the young guys competing. It's not LeBron James' responsibility or Steph Curry. They've done their time. I want Devin Booker and Anthony Edwards to compete against each other. I want Jason Tatum and Anthony Edwards to compete against each other. I want the young dudes to go out there and compete. What they doing out there just chilling and walking?
1 second, Perk. What did you make of Anthony Edwards' comments saying
that was so strange for me because he is such the opposite of that. He is such a competitor. For him to say, I'm going to All-Star break, and that's my boy. So I love it. But I hate the fact that he's going oh, nobody wants to come to All-Star game and compete. Why not? You going against the best players in the world. This is the greatest pickup game in the world. You compete in the summertime versus average Joes in a gym in Atlanta, but you're not going to compete against Devin Booker, the greatest two guard in the NBA right now, or Jason Tatum. These are guys that you need to go compete against.
Do you remember the time when Jordan was guarding Magic, right? And then you remember the time when Kobe was guarding Jordan and LeBron was guarding Kobe. Do you remember the breakup of Kobe and Shaq and Kobe was going there, that they had tension during that All-Star game? We got to get back to this point. And you're so right when you nailed it, because let me tell you this. If you're a young guy, if you're Anthony Edwards, you should not say, I'm going to be shooting left-handed shots in the All-Star game. Your mindset should be, I want to come out here and actually win the All-Star MVP.
Facts.
Don't take that for granted of putting that accolade up under your resume. So at the end of the day, we could come with all these hypotheticals and what can move the needle. The number one thing that's going to get these guys to compete is a bankroll. You're going to have to
I think the money will help, but you guys are right. I do think that
the brakes.
Jalen Brunson